President Muhamadu Buhari has ordered that for the next 60 days, Nigerians can use only the all 200 Naira notes alongside the new 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes. The president's announcement comes 10 days after he promised to intervene in the central bank's cash swap policy, for which implementation has brought hardship to a large section of Nigerians. But the order comes barely a day after the Supreme Court of Nigeria ruled for the second time to have both the old and new Naira notes in use until a substantive case against the government is heard. Let's talk about this now. Joining our gathering right now, Michael Adeleye. He's an economist and human capacity development professional. He's here in Lagos, Nigeria. We also have Deji Ajare. He's a legal practitioner who's joining us from Abuja, Nigeria. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the square. And what do you think about the president's order this morning? A day too late and perhaps a couple too short?
I think for me, the information comes too short. The reason being, on the 3rd of February, the president made a pronouncement that he's going to come back to the nation in 7 days' time, and that was supposed to be on the 10th of February. That never happened until now, and today is the 16th of February. And I think it's coming a bit too late shot, because obviously the crisis, that pandemonium crisis that the Naira policy has actually put upon the people, the agony, the stress, the pain, the hunger, business collapse, and all that is gone beyond expectation. It's unprecedented. And I think the pronouncement today comes a little bit too short, yes.
Okay. We'll find out from you, Deji. What are your thoughts about the president's address early this morning?
Sorry, come again?
Well, I'm not sure Deji can hear us, so I'll stay with you, Michael. Michael, despite the president's address being a day too late, what do you think its impact will be at this point in time in the crisis? Michael, that's for you. Can you hear me?
If I can hear you clearly, are you trying to find out the impact of the pronouncement of the president today as on the nation?
Yes, indeed. Despite it being too late, what do you think? What will it achieve?
Right. Sorry, I feel fluctuated. Anyway, if I can hear you correctly, I think if you look at the policy of the Naira exchange or change of narratives, the implementation is what's gone wrong in the first place. A lot of people are asking, most Nigerians are asking, what's the reason behind Naira change in the first place? I know there is a global or international standard of changing the country's currency at a certain given date and time. But obviously, if the implementation is done correctly, we shouldn't have been going through the crisis we're going through now. I mean, if you look at the United Kingdom, for example, at the midst of Her Majesty, we have King Cosmin of the story on the 6th of May. Now, you're not going to see any crisis, you're not going to see any economic upturn, you're not going to see any agony within the society or within the country that is going to lead to the currency change, because the face of the new king is going to have to come on the new pounds felt in the UK. Now, are you saying because there's going to be a new change of the currency, then the whole UK is going to go into this pandemonium crisis? Of course not. There's nothing wrong about changing the currency in the first place. But my question is, what is the reason behind the policy? And number two, if you have to change the currency, why don't you get the implementation right? Now, the president came a little bit too short, too late to make that pronouncement. The moment the whole country has been put into this pandemonium situation, the president should have called the CBN governor to order and ask them the question, why don't you have enough currency being disbursed into the economy in the first place? But that didn't happen. then that led to the Supreme Court. Some governors of some certain states in the country went to the Supreme Court to actually put their case before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court came with a judgment or a pronouncement saying, okay, now, because of the crisis and the pain of the people, can you please suspend that policy for now? I should strongly believe that the rule of law should prevail in many given democratic states. I don't think anyone should actually object or not being adhered to the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. But here we go. Nothing's happened. All the banks are saying, no, we cannot accept it, because CBN says this is the last date of when we should accept old currency. So basically, what we say now is the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of the land, her pronouncement doesn't have any effect on the country.
Indeed.
It's very dangerous for me.
Indeed, and I want us to look at that a bit further. But right now, let's take a listen to what a cross-section of Nigerians we spoke to think about the president's address, and then I'll take your comments on that.
They expect us to cope with 200 naira notes and circulate it within time. And now the banks are not even opening, they are not dispensing. How do we get those money back? How do we spend money? This morning I was forced to get to 200 naira notes as much as possible to go out. You can see. I was supposed to get to 200 naira notes up to 5,000 naira to come out, because I don't want embarrassment by the traffic, by the bus conductors. So the speech is going to add more problems to Nigerians and give us more issues on getting funds to make our daily activities.
Ó ti sú wa gidigidi gan. Ebi gan pa wá. Àròjà tó gbọ́jà láti bò mọ́lẹ̀ báyìí. Kódà lánàá oúnjẹ kan ni mo jẹ. Àmì tá a fẹ́ gbọ́, wọ́n ní ká máa náwó, wọ́n ní ká máa náwó. Ẹ bá wa rọ̀jọba, kán já máa náwó ìpapọ̀ ńlówó àpajù.
The way we find ourselves with this country, we don't like it. Because the new Naira note they bring out, we are not seeing it. Even the old note we have, they start rejecting. When we go to a fuel station to go and buy fuel, they will say no, they don't like that old note, the new note they want. And we self, they are come out, we don't see new note to buy fuel. It's hard for us. Please, we beg the president, the federal government to help the masses, because we don't know where we are going to. Please, we beg.
Abun da suka yi yayi kyau, muna ganin abun bai yi kyau ba. Sai jiya da aka ce za a je kotu ya gahi ana fito mana da naira 1000, naira 500 ana kawo mana mu canja a waje, saboda ina yake sun ɓoye ne. Maimakon su ɗauka su kai banki ba su ɗauka ba, sun ajiye gidajensu. To don haka ni ba na ganin laifin shugabannin nan akan abin da suka yi. Ya yi daidai. Kuma mun yi farin ciki da hakan yanda yi. Gyaran ƙasa ne, mu ba laifi a wannan. Duk wanda in ka ga ina ce ma da laifi, to hima marar gaskiya ne. Amma duk mai gaskiya ya san gyaran ƙasa ne.
We are in a country that we could see that the judiciary is giving its own order, and the presidency is giving its own order. But I believe that the presidency should obey court order, but it's not so as at now. So what do we do? Let's leave everything to God. Let's go to pray for Nigeria. That's what I can say.
Interesting thoughts there from a cross-section of the public in Nigeria's commercial hub, Lagos. Let's go back to Michael. Michael, what do you think about what you've heard so far from, those group of people we spoke to?
Thank you very much. To be honest, if I want to take us back a little bit to the NSAS situation that happened sometimes not too long ago, one of the things I actually brought out about or brought up the crisis into that height was simply because during the COVID-19 era, we have the international communities, corporate entities, individuals that actually gave in loads of palliative that should go on to every to all the society, into society, to everyone, so they can have that ease of food, drink, and all that kind of thing, to actually supplement the crisis of that economic impact the COVID-19 had on the people. But what happened? some of these are politicians hoarded all this policy. And eventually, what happens? Everybody went out, got the news that these things have been processed over. So they went, then the looting started. Now, coming back to what happened now, you ask everyone in the country, bring back your old Naira notes, so that at the end of the given date for the submission or the collection of the old Naira notes, you have the new ones. So basically, you've actually tricked. That's what I want to use. You actually con the people to move up all the Nairas, all the old currency in circulation back into the bank, to the central bank. Now, for you to not give them back their money to spend, that didn't happen. So obviously, the anger, we're sitting on the time bomb because you can see the crisis everywhere. People are attacking the protests on the street, attacking banks, bank workers, and all that kind of thing. It shouldn't have gone to this stage. If the implementation is right in the first place. A lot of people, personally, I've given over 30 people that's a handout of money because people come to you, sir, I can't eat. Not that I don't have money. Why can't we draw my money to buy food? So the general populace can't buy food, they can't travel, they can't go to their workplaces because they don't have the money to spend, to actually expend to go from A to B or to buy their food.
Indeed.
So the process now is everybody is being agitated. And they're not quite happy. So if
well, Michael, we lost your...
will not be able to contact.
Indeed. Now, joining our conversation now is Deji Ajare. He is a legal practitioner in Abuja. Deji, you have missed quite a chunk of the conversation, so I'll go right to the core of it. One of the things that has been mentioned a lot is what appears to, or what is really, the contradiction between the Supreme Court's position and the announcement or order given by the president. From the legal point of view, what is happening here?
I'll tell you very frankly my thoughts and opinion. It's a shame, it's indeed a shame that this government has a track record of disobedience of court orders that is worse than even military government that we have experienced in Nigeria. And of course, I don't need to start reading citing examples of orders of the courts of Nigeria that have been outrightly disobeyed by these governments. However, what is currently currently on the front burner is the issue of the Naira redesign, and it is interesting how the president conveniently sidestepped the discourse around the Supreme Court order, which, for all we care, is still pending. It's still the situation as of today. Now, in his own address, the president stated that his government is a law-abiding one, and as a law-abiding government administration, that it is not unaware of pronouncements of the Supreme Court. But what he conveniently did was to avoid talking about the position of its government vis-a-vis the orders of the Supreme Court. In other words, is the government implementing those orders? Is the government respecting and obeying the orders? And if it is, how is it doing so? But the government outrightly failed to address that. And of course, to every right-thinking person, you already know from what they said, because the Supreme Court's position is as at today, let the status quo continue. In other words, let the old bills continue to be used. But that was not what the president set out to address Nigerians on. And for me, as a lawyer and a legal practitioner, and someone who is concerned about public perception of the judiciary, it is immaterial whether, I like the order of the court, I believe in it, or I do not agree with it. The Supreme Court is the highest judicial body in Nigeria. It is popularly said that the Supreme Court is final. And it is final not because it is infallible. And it is not also because it is infallible that it is final, but whichever way, The Supreme Court is final, and its judgment.
And I don't mean to rush you, but the other argument against that is the fact that the president could also invoke his executive powers to give an order of this sort. Constitutionally, under what circumstances can the president do that? And do we see those circumstances surrounding this crisis at the moment?
Ours is a constitutional democracy. Our constitution is very clear. There is no authority in the Federal Republic of Nigeria that can go against an order of the Supreme Court. Matter of fact, once the court has decided on anything, it is final and it is binding on everybody. Like I said, irrespective of how inconvenient or distasteful we consider it to be, it is what it is. So the actions, the executive orders and other executive actions of the president, governors, as well as those of the legislature are subject to review by the courts. And once they have been reviewed, whatever the courts decide, it is final. The president cannot, by fiat, decide to waive aside or set aside an order of the Supreme Court. You see, we have to be very careful because the precedent that is being set right now by this president, if we do not speak out against it, it will haunt all of us. It will simply mean any president tomorrow can simply come, as long as there's a judicial decision that they are not comfortable with, they simply come and invoke some inexistent executive powers. There is no such thing, I assure you, under our constitution that enables the president to set aside or overlook or decide on its own to not obey the order of a court.
I see. So let's look at this now. Buhari, on one hand, has extended the use of only the 200 Naira notes until April 10th, and as he rightly says, 60 days. On the one hand, too, the Supreme Court expects to return to their panel on 22nd of February, next week, that is, to look at the substantive case against the government. How do you think these two scenarios or these two issues will play out in court on that day?
Well, I expect the justices of the Supreme Court to be very bold, to be very bold, and to speak very confidently in condemning the actions of the president. Indeed, in fact, I expect them to cite the president for contempt, because that is exactly what he has here. He's contemptuous of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So if the justices, the panel of justices, if they are going to be very brave and bold, they should indeed condemn it, and in fact they should take a step further to cite the president for contempt. It is important, it is symbolic, not necessarily because the president may eventually go to jail, but it is symbolic in the sense that it sends a message to the president, present president, and whoever will become president or whoever will hold any executive offices in Nigeria, that you cannot decide on your own to override the orders of a court. It is in this respect that the recent decisions of the court ordering the arrest of the chairman of EFCC of police, as almost unlikely as that is, it is symbolic. It is important that such statements come so that it is on record that what you did is wrong and that you can be cited for such action. And so for me, I expect the court, the justices of the Supreme Court, to be very, very, very bold and to speak out in strong terms condemning the actions of the president.
I'm happy you talked about citing the president for contempt being symbolic, because I was going to ask you how possible is that, given that he's the sitting president. But while we're on the legal matter, I just want to move on to Michael quickly. Michael, again, despite what the president has said, last night we heard of mayhem in many parts of the country, even here in Lagos, in Benin City, just too many pockets of violence breaking out around the country. The security the insecurity brought on by this issue seems to be underestimated. What do you expect our security authorities to be doing now, given the very volatile and combustible situation we have on hand?
Thank you very much. Demonstrate this: the security personnel has little or nothing much to do in this crisis. The chief security officers of every state should take the balls of them. to actually address this crisis. It is what the governor of every state says that will actually enable the security personnel to actually follow suit. Now, I give kudos to the governor of Lagos State, who made the pronouncement that if anyone, any business or any individual reject or refuse to take the ordinary notes, you could be prosecuted or you will be prosecuted. Now, if that message goes around the whole country and every governor of the state, of every state who happens to be sitting as the chief security officer of every state, goes out and makes that pronouncement to every other citizen that look, as far as I am the chief security officer of this state, I'm saying to every business, every individual in this state, the old Naira note is still a legal tender. When that happens, we will quell the crisis or any protest that is going on or is about to come up. And so that means the security personnel will have less work to do because it will send everybody back to their houses, back to their businesses, go and begin to spend the old Naira that they have with them.
But look at the confusion that this is. Look at the confusion that this is likely to cause. Businesses, banks would not know which one to align to. Should they align to the Supreme Court and accept all three notes, or should they align with what the president has ordered and accept only the 200 Naira notes? Deji, what should the public do now?
If you listen to what the legal practitioner...
I'll tell you, while I ordinarily would have advised members of the public to say, respect and obey and align yourself with the orders of the court, but the courts do not implement their own decision. They are eventually implemented by the executive arm of government, and it is clear that the executive arm has decided to go on a brigandage and clearly not enforcing the orders of the Supreme Court. And this is even very evident in what is happening with the courts. I read something on Twitter where a lawyer alleged that he sent some of his juniors to court and they went to court and were going to pay for filing fees. And guess what? Even the courts refused to accept it.
The irony of that.
So that means the court itself knows that it is unable to go to enforce that decision, and so it is the sad aspect of it. It is clearly the people, the citizenry, are the ones who are going to suffer the most of this, and the government does not seem to care at all what the pain it is inflicting on the people. But then again, the government must learn that what it is doing, what we have right now, is a recipe for anarchy. On the eve of the NSAS protests, things started like this. People were agitated, and the government failed to be sensitive enough to identify and recognize those red flags that should make it quickly go to work and try to alleviate the sufferings of the people. And we are on a precipice. Again, just close to the general election, the presidential election in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And the government does not seem to actually recognize these red flags. Flashes of protest across the country, hunger, anger, and outright disenchantment amongst the people. The president, the federal government of Nigeria, every state government needs to be very concerned about the current state of affairs, irrespective of where they stand on this issue.
Very well, and we'll have to leave our conversation here for now. But Deji, if you could just spend 30 seconds on projecting on whatever the decision of the Supreme Court is, if it hears the case at all, on the 22nd of February, how it could impact behavior on the 25th, just 3 days down the line, on Election Day.
If I'm going to be borrowing from the president's thoughts on why, so one of the major reasons they are implementing the change, the redesign of the currency itself, is to avoid or prevent bribery or to prevent vote buying on the election day. So presumably, if the Supreme Court rules against the use of the old notes on the 22nd of February in court, of course, clearly, you know that would mean that those who have hoarded the old notes and are hoping to buy votes on that, they would lose out outrightly. But then, what if the court decides to allow it to go ahead? Well, I wouldn't I think at that point we would have to
Very well. And we'll just wait and see. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time here on the square.
Thank you so much for having me.
In fact, indeed, Michael Adeleye is an economist and human capacity development professional. He joined us here in Lagos. Deji Ajare is a legal practitioner who joined us from Abuja, Nigeria via Zoom. Gentlemen, I'm totally grateful for your company. I'm also grateful for your company here on the program. I'll see you same time on Monday. My name is Keminni Amanor. Stay safe out there.